sports, etc. And I used to be like a well-rounded, interested in all kinds of activities in the school. So I would say my 10th and 12th class marks are not the highest. I think I got about 75% in 10th and 80% in 12th. But this is around 20 years back. So back then they were decent marks. But yeah, again, for me, I think marks were never the focus and topping a class was never the focus. But I did have good schooling education for sure. I think that helped me a lot to have my basics clear for the future for sure.
And did you have any key motivation during that time? Were you working towards something?
Not really. I think, to be honest, I never had thought about engineering or medical as a profession. I think I was always concentrating on the next step. So yeah, that basically meant that I never prepared very seriously for JEE exams. I think engineering was always my focus. I never was going to be in medical. But yeah, I didn't have the resources as well. I think I didn't have the financial resources as well to actually prepare for examinations, and I basically gave an examination without much of preparation. I didn't get a good rank as well. So I ended up into a college which didn't have a single batch as well, which had passed out. I think my seniors were 2 years seniors than me. So I think that's how my engineering journey began.
And why did you begin with engineering? Was it the tech side that intrigued you?
Well, actually, my father wanted me to do my engineering, so I think that's how your choices are made at that age, right? So, and now I think because of internet, you do have more, have more exposure in terms of number of careers you can have, and the information symmetry is available across the internet. Whereas back in 2001, 2002, 2003, most of the decisions were made by parents. Their motivation, what they felt was good, because they had more corporate exposure, experience in the industry, and yeah, my father wanted me to become an engineer, so I thought, yeah, probably that's the best way for me to go.
And this was 2003, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that is understandable now. So maybe just tell us about your first job ever. So what company was it?
Yeah, so in 2006, actually, I got placed into two organizations. One was L&T Infotech, and the other organization was Infosys. And back then, Infosys was a dream organization. They had just completed their 25 years. They were growing a lot. And yeah, and I wanted to work with Infosys thanks to Narayan Murthy and some other key people who were running the companies because of all their moral principles and the way they had basically put India on the global map. So I joined Infosys in November 2007 as a software engineer. I went to Mysore for a training camp as well for 6 months, and then I joined as a full-time engineer in Pune in 2008. So that's how my journey began with Infosys.
Okay. And was this a placement that you got from your college?
Yeah, this was in my third year. After my third year, it was an off-campus placement. Companies didn't come into my campus, so I used to be going to off campuses to other colleges where there would be multiple colleges participating in a joint or offshore off-campus kind of placement. And yeah, so I went to Algar and unable to another college within my district uh, to basically get placed or compete for a placement in Infosys. So that's how it was.
Okay. And what was your role exactly during that time? This was just you fresh out of your engineering college.
Yes, so this was just fresh out of engineering. So I was an electronics and communication engineer. And also there's a history to that, right? So in 2001, there was a big internet bubble burst. So all the dot-com companies which
Right.
started in 98 basically bubble busted in 2001, and nobody wanted to take computer science or IT, which is very different from now, right? Everybody wants to take CSC as a top choice. But back then, I thought that electronics and communication would be a safe field for me to get a job. And yeah, and unfortunately, you get some computer subjects as well in your 4 years. So, and I used to be a decent performer in my college as well. I maintained a good CGPA during my 4 years, and I got shortlisted for most of the companies. And back then, there were no product companies. Essentially, there were no Flipkarts and Amazons in the country. There were only service-based IT companies that you had to go to, and they would just call. So there were HCLs, Infosys, TCS, etc., who came in, and I interviewed for some of these organizations. So that's how the experience was.
Mm. Abhishek, before we move ahead, I just want to ask my audience, are we audible right now? Is it echoing because they are complaining about the audio?
Okay.
Can you guys just write it on the live chat? Is it still echoing? Uh, I don't know. Nobody's responding now, but many people wrote that. Maybe you can just press the mute and unmute yourself. Maybe it would be better.
Sure. Is it better now?
Yes, 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 it is audible. Okay, great. Thank you, guys. I was worried you
Thank you
won't
so
be
much.
able to hear him. So moving on, let's go. So yeah, after this, you did your MBA from IMI. So let us know why, first of all, why MBA after engineering? And this is way back. This is, I think, you did 4 years of engineering. So this is 2007, or
Yeah.
you had your work ex also in between,
So
right?
yeah, so I basically completed my engineering in 2007.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, in electronics and communication, and back there it was BE, not BTech, so Bachelor of Engineering. And then I worked for Infosys for about 2.5 years, and I pursued my MBA with IMI in 2010. So why MBA? Why I wanted to pursue MBA was basically again the environment that I was in. So I used to live with 6 roommates in a house, and all of them wanted to prepare for MBA, and I was influenced by that. The
Mm-hmm.
environment that you get from friends around you, and everybody was quite focused about their career, and at least 50% of them made it to good colleges. Some of them made it to IMs as well. And yeah, I basically dragged along with them in the journey. I was not really looking forward to an MBA because MBA always felt very expensive. And as I said that, financial resources were always a problem for me. So I took in financial aid to complete my engineering, which I wanted to repay before I could do any other further course. So I think that's how it was. And in 2009, the cat went online, which was very different for us because none of us had computers or internet at home. So I used to study in the office, late in the office with my friend to basically prepare for the exam. And sometimes in cyber cafes, I would go to. I think cyber cafe as a concept has gone away now, but yeah, there were cyber cafes where we would go to and give mock test or participate in test series. I think that's how we started preparing, and it almost took 4 months for the CAT result to come. So yeah, fortunately, I got a good percentile. I got about 95.15 percentile in the CAT exam. This was my first CAT, so I thought I did decently for my first exam, and I thought that I'll probably take admission. I didn't want to prepare again. I didn't know what will happen if I basically gave the exam again, because at this point of time, I had my friends, I had the support system who I was preparing with. But if I went on and prepared alone, then I don't know how many marks I will get. So I basically had two options: IMT Ghaziabad and IMI Delhi. And yeah, I wanted to play safe. Both of them were decent in terms of pedagogy, teachers, education. The fees was quite equivalent as well, but the batch size of IMI was only 120, whereas the batch size of IMT Ghaziabad was 400. So I
Hmm.
thought that I'll play it safe and I'll take admission to a college which is basically probably from a smaller batch size. And that was the key reason I joined IMI Delhi at that time.
Got it. So if we look at your career path, every company that you have moved forward towards is a step ahead than the previous one. We'll talk about
Yeah,
all those now, from Capgemini to Big Four to Deloitte India to UK and now in Microsoft. So we see a pattern continuously. You are upping your game, if I had to say
yeah,
like that. Yeah. So let's understand how can someone from a background, which I think many people, I am also relating to you a lot, as a as our background is not so from a tier one or tier
yeah,
two
yeah,
college. It's average, which is what I think most of us are. We'll find that a lot in India to somewhere where we dream to go to, and that is the
yeah,
thing that
absolutely.
intrigued me a lot with your career. So let's go to some rare parts of it and see how the journey went and your choices went up
Sure.
and how you did this. So let's start with Capgemini, maybe. What does the company exactly do, and what was your role in this company?
Sure. So I think Capgemini is very similar to Infosys and TCS of India. So Capgemini is a French IT service firm, and I got placed as a campus recruit there. So they had a B school program called Chrysalis, which is where they hired MBA people from all over the country. And thankfully, I think we had a good peer group, which included IIM Ahmedabad and the Calcuttas and the Bangalores. Obviously, they had a better salary and they had a better position to start from. So designation was probably a tier above us. But I still get that exposure. I still got the same respect in the organization. And I was assigned a mentor who was a vice president in the firm. So my first mentor was a VP, and he was from IIM Lucknow. And yeah, that was basically a great opportunity for me. And I was put into a very difficult and a complex engagement with a public sector client in India as my first project, and I was doing a project management work as an assignment. And yeah, I mean, it was very very complex. It's long hours as well. And my mentor was very not very easy to please as well, because he was someone who wanted to actually achieve the best all the time. He was someone who wanted perfection. But I think I learned a lot with that experience, being in that part of, where you have the top B school people along with you during your initial induction phase, and then getting mentored by someone with such an experience and background from IIM Lucknow was a key game changer for me. And I always thought that he always wanted to achieve something better in his life. Every year he would strive for something better in terms of within his personal and professional growth. So I think that inspired me to actually follow his footsteps to continuously better myself in terms of my skill sets as well as knowledge.
Hmm, right. And then after Capgemini, I think you moved to the Big Four, that is PwC, and
Yes.
then later on Deloitte. And you said both your roles in both these companies were almost similar. But to begin with, let's understand, why did you make the switch? How did you get into
Right.
PwC from Capgemini?
Sure. Yeah. So actually, as I was a software developer in Infosys, and
Hmm.
then I became a project manager or a program manager in Capgemini. But I wanted to be more into technology rather than implementing stuff. Be more into the strategy domain and basically working with CIOs to actually
Hmm.
design the future for them. And in 2015, the trends around digital transformation were just coming up, right? So I think now everybody talks about strategy as digital strategy and technology being at core of any transformation we talk about in any organization. But that then it was just embarking. And again, with my network through people of different B schools, and and the professional network I had, basically they said that a lot of these big fours were forming teams which were called CIO advisory services, where they would work with the CIOs to actually see where they can help formulate their future roadmap for the firm and how it derives from the business strategy. So technology is supposed to enable business goals and objectives, and CIO is supposed to support CEOs and CFOs to do that. And CIOs were
CIO,
always looking for fresh ideas on
Chief
that front.
Information Officer,
Yeah,
CIO.
CIO is Chief Information Officer. So he's
Okay.
someone who takes care of the IT function in an organization. And CFO, as you know, is the Chief Financial Officer, and CEO is the
Yeah.
Chief Execution Officer, who is basically someone who runs the organization and manages the P&L. So IT strategy derives from business strategy, and then they wanted someone to actually support and bring in the right point of views, the industry trends, what's happening in the competitive landscape, where are people investing, how do we optimize, technology spend. So that's where I wanted to be. And I was basically interacting with recruiters from those firms. I was trying to basically network with people who were who were formulating those teams, and I luckily I got an interview call with those networking connects I made. So yeah, I basically did some case study based interviews, and I got through PwC. That's how I joined PwC in the CIO advisory services. And that's the same role that I did in Deloitte as well. I mean, that was a natural transformation. Sometimes it happens is that if you get to one big four, you get to the other big four quite easily,
Hmm.
because you have very similar standards of talent, skill, and models as well of delivery.
Okay. But if it was so similar, why did you make the shift?
I think I don't want to say that, but Deloitte is a step up. I think it's basically the best big four, and I think it has proven now with respect to the revenue and the way of scale of operations as well. So yeah, my team at Deloitte was a step up for me. The scale of the complex transformations that they were doing, again, because of the industry information that you get through your network, that some other organization is doing very similar work but at a larger scale. So you want to be part of that journey, and that's what motivated me to connect with them and get an opportunity with them for sure.
Got it. Now, just wanted to get into the more practicality. So you were a software
Yeah.
developer, then you became a product manager, and now you are a consultant. Is it right? Here
Yes.
in
Yes.
PwC.
So
So
I
now,
was a software engineer to a project manager,
yeah.
and then to a senior consultant or a consultant in a PwC and Deloitte. Yeah.
So I want to get more of a practical example to understand, the difference of roles and how you changed, how MBA degree changed your scale of
Yeah.
role, and then consultancy versus your project management?
Sure. So I think MBA does two things. One is obviously you get access to a better pay package
Hmm.
because at Infosys I was probably still at a very ground level package, and back then in 2018, sorry 2008, there was a subprime crisis, right? So financial crisis had taken up, and we had to had pay cuts. People were losing jobs, and I thought that was the best time to do an MBA as well, because I think if I study for 2 years and by the time I come out, the market will be better, and that was the situation. And I luckily I got a good job, and I got out at a 3x level in terms of my return. So say I was at 1x, I got a salary of 3x out of the college, which was what was in terms of ROI 1:1. So fees and the package that I received was 1:1. So I thought the return of investment was quite good, and I would get my salary back in a year's time. And the second part is you obviously get access to a better role and profile as well. And again, 2010-11, not a lot of product based companies were there, so not a lot of options. So either you had the FMCG firms or the core financial firms, or you had technology firms, which are service based organizations. And in
Hmm.
service based organizations, you had a couple of roles. Either you were into core ERP based consulting, or you were doing project management. So I wanted to be more into project management rather than restrict myself to an ERP based consultant. So project management was a good access to senior leadership because you're accountable for managing large scale projects. You do get to meet with senior stakeholders in the customer. So that also increases your exposure and you learn a lot of stuff. And third part is obviously because of the long term engagement with customers and the leadership, you understand the industry better as well. So I think that was a key decision for me to take up, a project management role in a consulting firm. Sorry, in IT service firm.
Hmm. Got it. And in PwC, how was your role?
PwC was more advisory. So far I was responsible for implementation of actual technical solutions with my team, who were technical and functional resources. But now, actually, it was more about working directly with the CIO, and understanding how an IT function operates. How do we actually budget for an IT investment for the year, and what are the technology initiatives that will prioritize for that organization that will support their business objectives for the next couple of years. So that was a completely into advisory. We will help them into implementation, but through the partner ecosystem. So it was again an upgrade from my implementation experience to an advisory function. So that was the upgrade that I had in PwC.
God. You have been talking a lot about CIOs, and I have spoken to a lot of people. CIOs never even came into, a point that you mentioned them. So, what is the role and how you are so deeply connected and, you intertwined and you work with them so deeply?
Sure. So I think if I to take it back into the history, in 1990s, generally IT was a cost center, right? So nobody cared about IT as such. You would run some servers and your applications would run, or most people would use physical books and files to basically do their accounting, everything else. But now with internet, especially with software packages coming in, more and more technology advancement happened in the organization, and now nothing can actually run without technology. So this role of CIOs actually became more important. They were very dynamic, and CIOs generally are like the head of how they want to operate their IT function. They also have some parallel roles like chief technology officer, which generally looks at the the cloud infrastructure of the organization, and then there is chief digital officer as well, which looks at digital products and services within an organization. So new roles are coming up as well from a technology domain. So as IT becomes important in the company, CIO roles become important in the company. Now CIOs now even sit in the board meetings to actually at the same level as CFOs and CEOs while making technology and business decisions. So that's how it has basically evolved, and that's how roles have evolved, right? So if there has been a demand, your roles has also basically evolved with the demand in the industry.
Got it. So moving forward, after that you went into Deloitte India, and as we said, Deloitte is a step up again, and you left it after 2 years, and then there was a time when you were not working at all. I think it was just before COVID struck us. And what were you thinking at that point? As as people who and you were working with such big brands, then you took a decision, you left it, you paused for a couple of months. So, were you comfortable with the unemployment situation, or why did you choose to do it?
Yeah, so I think it was not a voluntary decision that I
Mm.
taken, but back then I think I thought my mother needed my time because she was unwell. My dad had passed away a few months back, and I didn't want to leave my mother, and that was the reason that I basically lost, basically moved away from that then employer, which was Accenture. I worked for 4 months in Accenture, again in a very similar strategy based role, because I was basically traveling 5 days a week and working on the weekends as well. That's how consulting is. And if anybody wants to come into consulting, that's how life is, unfortunately. But I thought that I need to take a break and I need to take care of my mother first, and then look at where I want to work, what kind of areas I want to look in. Do I want to continue working in India or want to work somewhere else? So that 4 months period helped me think through. So I had two options. One was Canada, the other option was UK. But
Hmm.
obviously, UK was more preferred because a lot of reasons. One is I had a ready job offer with me, and the second point is that UK is much nearer to India than Canada. So I think those are some of the two motivations I basically had to come to UK. But that 4 month period really helped me think through what I wanted to achieve in my life. How do I plan it better? What are my priorities? Because before that, I was just chasing success, professional growth. I was not taking care of my health or my family as well. So I think I wanted to take a step back. And sometimes it's important to take a step back as well.
I think COVID gave us that step back. I felt with
Yeah,
my life that, a pause and you can think straight and you can think through. So, but this thing came before COVID, right? I think in
that was before
2019
COVID.
you were facing this. That's yeah, something. But yeah, it's a great opportunity to think through with this. And I know you spoke that you got a opportunity in UK, but I want to see the exact practical point where you were trying to find the job and the
Yeah.
things that you did to do you get it. Many people just stay in their job for 25 years thinking that they don't have any opportunity. But the thing is, you have to go out and get the opportunity, grab it. So I want to understand what you did to get this Deloitte opportunity from UK.
So all these opportunities have always come with scaling up as well. So whenever I've targeted a profile, even for Deloitte, I had completed certain certifications I wanted to do. And yeah, it's a lot of investment that you make. So I believe, it's my thought process, the best investment that you can make in the world is in yourself. So you need to continuously skill yourself, learn new things, be relevant in the market. And there are a lot of things which are available in the market for you to scale up, and you don't need to actually go through the formal process of attending a college anymore, which is good because education is now democratized. So I think that's a good step. But back then, around 10 years back as well, everything was more formal. So I wanted to basically do a lot of certifications and technology has always been focused for me. So for Deloitte India, I focused on a specific set of certifications to get my skills up. And while working as well, I was continuously focusing on my skilling and development. For UK, I think I had to do a lot of hustling. So I had to apply for at least 100 to 150 different uh, organizations and companies which were ready to sponsor people. Because before Brexit, it was tough for Indians to come through. There's a clear process that unless they can hire someone within UK or the European Economic Area, which is the EEA, they have to prove to the government that they cannot hire someone from that region before they can hire someone from India or Asia, etc. So that was the key roadblock for me. So I had to prove myself that I'm a better candidate than most of the people in UK or from the European region, and that's how it worked. So it's a long process. It takes a lot of rejections. It has to be persistent in that sense, and you need to take feedback from people, network with people. What's wrong with your profile? What's wrong with your resume? How do you skill yourself for that particular job better? And keep applying. And I probably applied for the same position, which I eventually got through 6 times. I was rejected by the same HR 6 times before I got an interview on the seventh time. And yeah, I just kept bugging him for interviews. So yeah, that's how it is. And when you get an interview, you try to maximize the opportunity. So that's how it was.
That, yeah, these stories are really nice. We always, what do you say? We leave things very fast. We don't perceive and push through it.
Yeah,
So
so it's always. I mean, nobody will open doors for you
yeah.
unless you basically make a compelling case. So either you be persistent, or you network with people, or you are better than others. You prove that through education or with your work. So I think all of these things matter.
Hmm.
But yeah, sometimes persistence probably plays a better role than talent uh, to
Hmm.
help you succeed in the market for sure.
And when we spoke before, you told me that you almost got 25 certification within this last
Yeah,
2 years or 1 year. What
not
are
one
these?
year. It's been a almost a 5 6 year journey now.
I see.
So since Deloitte
Okay.
India, I've been preparing for different certifications across different technologies. A lot of people would say that why would you do technology certifications when you are an MBA? You know, you're not actively doing engineering work. But I think it's very important for me because I want to understand the language they speak if I want to work with them effectively. And also, I should not be BSing in a meeting. I should be knowing what I'm talking about. So if I call myself as a technology strategist or an account CTO today,
Mhm.
there has to be some content which I back myself on to have the relevant conversation with the customers, because customer is equally intelligent. They have equal amount of capabilities. They're probably much more experienced than I am. Any CIO probably has 30 years of experience and he has a lot of content that he can actually speak me with. So that's where I need to bring my value to, talk about the trends in the technology, which is what is changing, because technology is changing at a very fast pace. So that's why it has become compelling to keep myself skilled, do a lot of certifications, have the relevant conversations with customers, take their feedback. And if I see there is a white space in my knowledge, I just go for that and train myself and do a certification on that.
Are the certifications those Udemy or Coursera courses we're talking about?
So I do take trainings from Udemy and Coursera, but I also basically do Microsoft, Amazon, Google certifications to keep myself relevant because they are globally recognized. I also have a certificate from the British Computer Society, which is
Mhm.
primarily equivalent to a chartered accountant in India. It's a charter
Okay.
in IT, which the Royal Charter provides you, and you have to give a long interview to the British Computer Society for that to be awarded that charter. So yeah, I went for that as well. I again hustled with a lot of English folks how they have received it. Can someone who is in a work permit get that? And yeah, I basically went for it and I prepared for it and I got through as well. So that's quite recognized in UK as such. So yeah, I think again, wherever I see white space, I see an opportunity, I just go for it.
Okay. So before we move forward, I'm going to ask you obviously how
Sure,
is
sure.
Deloitte India versus UK. But before we move forward, I got to know that the first 2 minutes of our video, our audio was not working. So just to give
Okay,
a context, just to give a context, whatever
sure, sure.
Abhishek spoke about, I'm just going to say that what we were talking about is that he belonged, he had a background very, very similar to most of us watching right now, with not a very great IIT, IEM, any backing of any sort of tier one colleges. But the question was that how did he reach here? And because many, I am also 24 now, and many of you are also very young. So I'm sorry, a bit older than 12th graders or bachelors. So I'm guessing that the time has passed that you select your college and you choose something out there. So if that is what it is, you can actually go and upskill yourself continuously throughout your career, as he Abhishek is doing, and reach the place with persistence and whatever we spoke about. So the early times, the first 2 minutes, we were just talking about the background, and we were talking about having no brand, backed by no brand. So that is it. You didn't miss much. Now is more, we are talking about more relevant and important things. So moving forward, so Abhishek, just tell us about the difference between Deloitte UK and India.
I think there is a lot of difference in culture and
Mhm.
the way the organizations operate. And I think that's the best thing about being in Deloitte UK, because it's much more diverse. So India is very diverse in terms of the caste and different languages being spoken, and different regions, people coming together, working together. But in terms of diversity, probably London has more diversity as well, because in my team there were 16 different nationalities working together, and they had all different ways of working, different languages, and I think that basically gives you a different level of exposure. And also it sometimes helps because when you're new to the organization, you want to actually learn a lot, you want to absorb a lot. And Indian experience had been almost there for a decade now, so I wanted to try something new. And so yeah, I was basically like an analyst or an associate, trying to talk to people, learn from everyone. So people who were junior to me, I would go and ask them, how do you do this, what's the best way of doing this, because there is no shame from learning from anyone in the team. And that's how it was, right? So even though I joined as a manager in Deloitte UK, but I still went up to the analysts and the consultant and the associates, because they had more experience of the market and they were always open to help and support. So I think that's how it worked. My first project was in Scotland,
Mhm.
and I don't know if you know about Scottish English. It's very tough to understand. So it took me a while to actually understand their accent and them to understand me as well with an Indian heavy accent, talking to them in technology terms. But yeah, eventually we got together and we basically helped the organization come out of a ransomware attack. So I think that was a success that I believe it's a great engagement to start with. But yeah, in terms of culture, in terms of scale of operations, in terms of the exposure with respect to the customers, the work-life balance, it's much better in a European country than India for sure.
And when we were speaking or talking before, you told me that shifting from India to abroad, it's way easier if you are more tech fluent compared to if you are a marketing person, because marketing changes as per industry and as per country. But tech is same, as you said. Your maybe your English was not that same, but your coding and your languages might have been similar or same, I would say. So just want to understand from your, like, using your opinions and your words, why do you think tech fluency is so much generic and easy to copy paste compared to any other skill?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there has been an evolution in last 2 decades that jobs are now becoming more tech fluent than operational or functional. So earlier you could be a finance manager, but you wouldn't know how to run a tool. But now you cannot be a good finance person if you don't know how to run a specific ERP package, or you sometimes people are actually now coding as well with SQL and Python. So technology is basically agnostic. It's basically culturally agnostic, and that helps because it's easily transferable from one geographical area to the other. You are able to get onto the speed of how this particular problem needs to be solved through technology than probably in a core marketing situation. Because in a marketing situation, and that's my personal opinion, and there are a lot of experts who are in marketing who can actually defer to me, but the point is that you have to have geographical knowledge. You have to have the customer demographic as well in the mind, because it's very different from say a campaign being done in India than a campaign being done in UK, because the consumer behaviors are quite different. So you have to have local experience to actually be a good marketer in UK than even if you're a good marketer in India. So you need to actually gather some experience. Whereas from a technology standpoint, you can be productive from day one. Especially when it comes to software engineering, people are productive from anywhere across the globe, and India is known for software engineering as a hub. So similarly, I'm not a software engineer, but I'm someone who works with technology very regularly. So it was easy for me to actually ramp up to the expectations of the customers and my leadership in UK. Then probably I would say for a purely functional person.
Got it. And was your role similar to that in Deloitte India?
Yes, primarily very similar. But I was also working a lot on mergers and acquisitions. So a lot of organizations in 2020, 21, especially after COVID, there was a lot of demand for organizations either being bought off by someone else or them being divesting their organizations. So that's where also technology plays an important role. And my specific task was to actually help organizations successfully complete their deals essentially. So my primary focus was M&A in this particular team in UK, but the skills were very similar as such.
Got it. So after I think 2.5 years of working here, you moved on to Microsoft. So obviously, I want to understand, how did you get this opportunity?
So again, I think hustling and persistence. So I think I've been applying to Microsoft for the last 10 years. So this was probably my 21st application when I finally got the interview.
Hmm.
And at this time, I actually didn't apply. They actually had hunted me. So that was a difference. And I got an interview opportunity. And so that's how it was. Again, I kept applying, I kept skilling myself, kept looking at their job descriptions of various job postings that they have. And do I have a good match with some of the skill sets that they're looking for? And if not, then what are the white spaces I need to target? Either through experience, on the job experience, or through any certifications or learnings I can actually do. So eventually, probably something clicked for them and they actually approached me for an opportunity.
And what is this role on Account CTO? What is it? Can you explain us?
So yeah, it sounds fancy, but it's
Yeah.
primarily it's earlier it used to be called as a client technology lead at Microsoft. It's now newly branded as account CTO or account technology strategist. So what we generally do is we work with enterprise customers and we act as the client or a customer CIO, and we work with them very closely and understand how Microsoft can help realize their outcomes. what kind of technology outcomes they have, technology objectives they have, what kind of objectives the business has from our customer standpoint, and what kind of Microsoft products, services, or solutions can help them to achieve those outcomes for them. So it's basically working with them in a strategic partnership, doing a lot of workshops, doing a lot of thought process planning with them to understand, where that organization is heading towards in the next 5 years or 10 years, and how Microsoft can help. And yeah, it's a clear relationship, so between the customer and myself, and also with the larger ecosystem in Microsoft. So Microsoft has different branches,
Mhm.
so it's a big product organization as well. So I also become a conduit to my product teams, where we keep getting feedback from customers that these are the features or these are the services that they would want in their live services that they have today from Microsoft. So that's a feedback that we feed into the product teams, and they also start working on those features and services. So that's the primary role of being a customer relationship manager for my customers for a period of time. And I work primarily in the media and telecommunication sector. So we are very industry aligned. So there are industries around FSI, which is financial services, retail, healthcare, public sector. We also have policing as a separate industry, which is crime and policing, and I am primarily aligned to the media and telecommunication sector.
I want to understand it deeper and want to get a practical example where,
Sure.
a client comes and tells you, okay, this is how my model is. Can you help us? How can Microsoft help us?
Sure. So I think, for example, if a customer comes in and says that I want to be more secure, I'm hearing a lot of ransomware attacks happening. A lot of organizations today, their data is being breached. There is a lot of data privacy concern. How do we make our organization more secure? So we basically then discuss with their key technology and business stakeholders, understand where their challenges are. And we also, my job is also not to solve everything myself, but bring in the right expertise from Microsoft to actually, help with the solution as well. What is the roadmap? What are the projects that we need to do with them? What kind of products and services we can actually give them so that they become secure for the future? So I think that's one of the key examples. And that's one key example that we work. Similarly, if they have a new go-to market, right? If they want to actually be selling more services, or they want to start new products and services in the market, then and they want a technology partner in that ecosystem. So one of our customers want to become more sustainable. They want to actually be known for being more green. They want to actually start some go to market in sustainability sector. Then how does Microsoft services and products actually help them to become more green? How they can actually take advantage of sustainability as one of the key areas of their success. So those are some of the key areas that we work with them.
Okay, so I'm going to ask many stupid questions just to understand whatever is happening. So in PwC, you were working as an advisory where you were in this consulting firm and somebody came with a problem and you were giving a solution which was not a specific product as such, but it can be anything. It can be a tech, it can be a
Yes.
solution to the problem, and it can be maybe you're not advising PwC products basically. You're just advising them,
Yes.
and that is it.
Yes.
Then and Deloitte was similar to that advisory role.
Yes.
Okay, and now here in Microsoft, you're almost like a in-house advisory, plus you're creating the product for them, is it?
So it's not me creating the product, but we are trying to find the fitment of the product from a Microsoft standpoint. Can we help them? Do we have the product in the ecosystem to help them? If not, can we build something for them? Or if we cannot build that for them, can we bring in a partner to actually help them? So we work with a lot of startups and the partners in terms of implementation partners or SIs who can help the customer with the right solution. So my job is to actually be a problem solver, but the
Hmm.
difference that has happened now is that I look at Microsoft products and services first than any other technology
Got
solution. So
it.
earlier I used to be more technology agnostic.
Hmm.
I would probably give them options around, say, Amazon or Google and Microsoft. But now I'm actually looking at Microsoft in a more in-depth level because we have a big range of products and services to help. And many of these customers come to us because they know that even if they have a problem and they can't solve it, probably Microsoft has some solution in the ecosystem to solve that for them.
Got it. So, you advise and then you actually provide like you execute it or you help other team members in Microsoft execute or
So
solve the.
generally, Microsoft helps design, build, and sometimes execute as well. So we have a big implementation team within Microsoft, which sits out of India and
Hmm.
also across Europe as well. Similarly, we have partners like, say, Accenture, HCL, Infosys, who are big partners for us to actually come and execute stuff for them as well. So we have a lot of good partners in the ecosystem. who
No,
can help
listening
us.
to this, it's, first you were sitting outside the circle, the big circle who innovates and changes the world. You were sitting outside and you were giving solutions that, okay, this company can help you, this company can help you. Now you're inside one of that chamber where people
Yes,
innovate and you're creating that innovation. So that is a huge difference and
absolutely.
step up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think that's why Microsoft is probably at the edge of technology because they're always looking at the future. And Satya actually came to UK probably a couple of days back, and he gave a great message. How do we help clients because the market is changing. It's basically quite volatile. How do we add more value? How do we do more with less? I think that's what one of his key messages, and that's the principle we live by as well. How do we help our customers better with the same amount of expenditure that they're doing today? So yeah, that's how it is, and it's a big organization, very very large organization in terms of the number of roles we have, and people can actually make their career within Microsoft and do completely different things every year as well, if that's how they want to actually achieve. So you may never run out of number of roles or profiles that you want to work in this organization.
So is it
Whatever you
easy
want to
to
do,
jump
there is something
across?
available for you.
Oh, it's easy to, if you're once you're inside Microsoft, you can jump around and check out all the roles
Yes,
that is open and you can.
absolutely. If there is a role open and you think you have the right skills, and you can reach out to the right hiring manager and ask them that if they can give you that opportunity as well. So there is always that opportunity to move lateral. And I know someone, I'm working with someone who has been at Microsoft for 30 years now, and he's probably worked in 10 or 15 different careers in those 30 years. So you can imagine the diversity in the number of roles and profiles within the organization.
Got it. So I'm going to go to the last part of this
Sure.
webinar, not the webinar, but my question series. So I want to now understand hunting a job in India versus hunting job in UK. How different are these two? Like, how do you start the communication if you're completely blind, you don't know what to do, and you want to get a job?
Yeah. So I think the biggest difference is probably LinkedIn is the biggest difference. I think LinkedIn is the biggest job portal where most of the Western European countries and the North American companies are actually hiring now. I think India is also moving towards LinkedIn a lot, but LinkedIn is where I actually connected with most of these recruiters, hiring managers, or someone who is probably doing something that I want to do as well. So, for example, there is a manager who is doing technology strategy in Deloitte, and I want to be a manager in technology strategy in Deloitte UK as well. I would connect with him and see how, if he can give me some time and explain me what kind of things he's doing in his job without actually giving out information, but help me basically with the right skills. If I'm missing something, how do I improve my resume? So that kind of hustling is required. Yeah, don't be ashamed of reaching out to people, networking with people. You never know where the next opportunity lies, and it's not just UK. I think Europe is a big market right now for anyone who is looking at especially a career in technology. Europe is hiring a lot, UK is hiring a lot, and it has become quite easier to come to UK, especially after the Brexit situation has happened. The number of visas being applied for from a work standpoint the cap has completely gone away, and UK is also giving a post-study work visa after your masters or graduation, where you can actually work for any employer. So I think there are opportunities if you want to actually hustle and work hard, be persistent with your efforts. The difference in India is that you generally get headhunted a lot because there are a lot of recruiting agencies who will keep calling you with job opportunities, and once you are in the market, it helps to basically get headhunted quite easily. I think there are a lot of job portals in India to get headhunted, whereas in from India to UK or Europe, it's a lot of hustling. That's the effort that you need to make. Be uncomfortable to basically get comfortable in future. I think that's the situation.
Got it. And if we had to see our degrees and the colleges that we have passed out from, how important is it in India compared to that in UK?
I think UK is a very different market. It does not really value MBA as such. I know people from psychology background who are cybersecurity experts, or law background who are cybersecurity experts as well. So if you have the talent and the skill set and you are interested, then you can make a career in any particular career option in UK. But I won't say that MBA is not at all valued. So some of the big three consulting firms like McKinsey, BCG, and Bain definitely hire MBAs or some of the core banking, investment banking firms, because London is a financial hub as well. So all of these firms value good MBA students as well, but generally from the Ivy League colleges, like from Oxford or Cambridge, etc. But if you are coming to UK for a tier two degree, I would say, go for a STEM degree rather than a purely management degree for sure.
Okay, got it. So the last question from my side is, what are you
Sure.
chasing in life now?
I'm actually, living one day at a time,
Hmm.
and trying to learn from people. I think I would always want to be the dumbest person in the room, because that's where you will have the most amount of learning opportunities. And thankfully, I'm in an organization where I get lot of intelligent people around me, a lot of people who are very capable and willing to help as well. So I think that's how it is, and I'm very glad that I finally found an opportunity to come here after 10 years of applying. And yeah, as long as I'm able to learn and do something good with my life, I'll be happy. I'm not necessarily chasing a tag or necessarily chasing a position of power, etc. I think as long as I'm happy whatever I'm doing, I should be happy in the long term here.
Sounds great. So now I think it was really, really amazing understanding your journey and your experiences. Let's put across this opportunity to our viewers and see if they have any questions for you. So here is a question. As a fresher, which role I get placed without tech background if I do with good tier one MBA college in India or foreign? So I guess they don't have a tech background. They have an MBA
Yeah,
degree. So yeah.
lots of careers you can
Yeah.
have in. I think tier one colleges, you will always have more options than anybody else.
Hmm.
Probably consulting, investment banking, or even you want to join an FFCG firm. I think you will always have a lot of options with the tier one, and it doesn't necessarily need to be a tech oriented profile. It
Hmm.
helps to have tech skills, but it doesn't necessarily need to be a tech oriented profile. So there are a lot of options for available. Even for tier two people, it doesn't necessarily need to be a tech oriented profile all the time, but definitely helps to have tech skills.
Got it. Archit has asked a question, but I don't think it's relevant to you. Archit, yeah, it is an outdated book. Please check some other things. So it's something else.
Okay,
He's
check the
asking
book.
about cat.
Awesome.
So we have Prashant asking how to get into product management, and I have 1.3 years of testing experience. Will doing MBA land me into a product management role?
Uh, well, it will help for sure. If you can get an internship around product management, because I think internship is going to help you get the final job. Sometimes PPOs and PPIs also open doors for product management roles. But MBA is not the only way. You probably have a look at some of the YouTube channels where they talk about how do you get into product management, how do you solve product management case studies as well. And again, reach out to the people who are actually doing that job on LinkedIn and find the right skill sets. How did they make it? Is it required to have an MBA or not? That also helps sometimes. But MBA will definitely open a door, especially a tier one MBA will definitely even a tier two MBA will open a door. You may not actually end up getting into Microsoft or Google right from the start, but you can still be in a startup and be a product manager as well. As long as your skills are there, you should eventually make it to the right firm for sure.
Got it. So we have next question. Chandan asking, what was your MBA college and how was it? How was the experience?
So IMI Delhi was an excellent college for me. I think my teachers were amazing. I won't say that it was a top tier college in terms of ranking and branding, but the opportunities we had were quite good. I had a good peer. The cutoff for the batch was 95 percentile, so I had a very good cohort in that sense. I was probably the lowest percentiler at 95.15 in my batch. And now I think I might takes a lot of people based on profile and a lot of other stuff, which is great. I think all colleges are becoming more diverse in that sense, because that's the industry demand these days. But back then it was a pure play percentile cutoff. So I think we had good students, very good teachers, and decent facilities for us to actually learn for sure.
Got
So
it.
most the tier two colleges, if you are in top 10-15%, you can have a great career ahead for sure. I mean, you'll get good opportunities, but those opportunities reduce from tier one to tier two. That's the only difference.
Got it. We have a person asking. You have experienced a lot. So, if you had to go back in time and tell your youngster or young self that don't do this and do this, then what are the things where you would have changed something or tweaked something in your life?
To be honest, I think whatever I am is based on my experiences, my mistakes, and my successes. And I probably made more mistakes than successes in life because that's how we are. Generally, we make tend to be having more failures than successes. Successes are just spikes in life. So I think I won't change anything as such. I have enjoyed my life and I've enjoyed all the effort that I put in. So no regrets as such. And yeah, I will keep doing the same things that I've been doing because it has been working for me. Probably may not work for everyone, but that's how it is. And everybody has their individual journey. Don't look at anybody as a template for yourself in terms of your career or life. Find your own way, learn from your mistakes, but take a lot of risk. I think especially in your 20s and 30s, take risks, whatever, because with risk you will learn a lot. You might fail, but you will learn a lot as well.
Got it. If you had to recommend someone who is very young, should they do a more technical role like MTech or further, or versus an MBA, a more generic role?
It's a pure play interest area. If you're really tech inclined, and if you think that, even after MTech, a lot of people actually go into software engineering. I know a lot of people are getting into software engineering with product companies. If you think that you're going to be good at coding, software engineering, that's where everybody starts generally. So if you're good at that, then please go ahead. And if you're looking at product management as well, then probably MBA is going to be an easier pathway, especially in India, to go for. But internationally, MS is probably a better way if you want to be in tech companies.
Got it. We have Raktim Paul asking. He's a grad and he has a master's degree in statistics. So he's, I think, more he's interested in that. But he's asking in his upcoming career if MBA will be helpful for him, and if so, what kind of roles should he focus after MBA if we see as a very statistics background person?
Sure. I mean, statistics is also a key background where when it comes to machine learning these days, or
Hmm.
data intelligence, data science. So if you're interested in data science, think about it as well. Again, it is basically a layer of technology on top of statistics,
Hmm.
using a lot of AI based or machine learning based models. And think about it, if you are interested in data science, that would be an area for you to go for. But if you're interested in core profiles as well, finance could be one of the areas for you to look at, especially investment banking is where you have a lot of financial models, risk models being created out of statistics. So that could be another area. But that's not my area, so I can't basically give you a lot of expertise advice. But yeah, finance could be an area for statistics people for sure.
That's a fantastic advice, I guess. Because if I was at that age and I got an advice like that, I would have been like, I would have chosen things
Yeah,
differently.
hopefully this helps with people. That's why I'm here.
So we have Shami asking, should I get into a job in UK as a fresher in data analytics?
Sure, why not? Absolutely. So data, for me, I think there are three or four key pillars for success in technology. One is cloud, one is data and analytics, third is AI and ML, and fourth is basically large scale ERP solutions and products like CRM or ERP solutions. So if you are into any of these areas, you'll be quite successful in technology areas for sure. If you are specifically targeting data and analytics, for sure, not just UK, I think internationally, data analytics, data science is quite valued today because I think data is considered to be the oil of 21st century. So that's how it is.
Yeah. Our next question is from Jam. He is saying that he has a 58.8 percentile in 10th grade, and he's right now doing BCom second year, preparing for CA because he is scared that he doesn't cut off the benchmark of 60% basically in all the MBA classes. So, is there anything like that or any criteria like that maybe outside or any other scope that he can try out?
So, I mean, again, depends on the career that he's looking at.
Mm.
If he eventually wants to do CA, then obviously it won't matter after he completes his CA. That's how it is. And CA is anyways one of the toughest exams to clear in India. So if
Mm.
once he has proven that, it should be okay. But the other point is, if he was looking at IIMs as an MBA program.
Mhm.
So many of these IIMs do consider percentages as a cutoff. I don't know what that is because I gave CAT 12 years back
Yeah,
or 13 years back, so I don't remember the cutoffs anymore. But I think now the tendency has been to become more academic oriented or more all rounder oriented than probably 10, 15 years back. So if then you need to specifically target specific colleges which value CAT or ZAT percentiles over academic performance. But in terms of corporate careers, as a recruiter or as a hiring manager, I always look at spikes in people's career. So if you have a dip in some place, then what is the spike that basically covers up? So if you had a 58 percentage in 10th class, what have you done for the last 5 years, 10 years to, that stands out in your career? So it shouldn't define you as a person that you had a dip in one place. If you had spikes, and every resume has spikes, that's why people get selected. I think that's how it is. So think about the spikes in your resume. How do you build those skill sets? Show yourself, differentiate yourself from others, and world can be an opportunity for you.
got it. So we have one asking that what is the future skills that are required according to you? What is the future? What is the future in the sense that what are the certificates that will matter in the future, and the skills that will be useful in the future?
So I think it not doesn't need to be certification, but I think probably coding is going to be a key skill set in the future. Just like English is a language, coding is going to be one of the coding language skill set could be useful, regardless of whether you are in finance, marketing, operations. I think it's going to be important to understand technology, understand cloud as well. What is cloud? At least have the basics. So all of these things will matter for sure.
Got it. We have Bikash asking, does 2 year of gap affect your selection in IIMs or any college?
Sorry, I didn't get the last question. But does 2 years of
Does 2 years of gap affect your selection in a college like IIM?
as long as you have a justification for the gap, it doesn't really matter. Again, if that's a dip, then what have you done the last 2 3 years to cover up for that dip? That's what matters. Everybody has a recency bias towards your career. So if you have covered up for that dip in the last couple of years, then people will be more focused on that particular spike rather than the dip.
Got it. So the last question we have is Raktam again asking, how do we connect with Abhishek? You know Abhishek also gives lectures and all, right, for your own college. You told me about that.
Yeah, I basically take sessions or help people prepare for interviews because alumni network comes in and helps people prepare for interviews for their placements as well. So I do that as well. I also am part of the admission committee. So whenever IMI actually takes admission interviews, I'm one of the panelists in that.
Oh,
So
okay.
I do take part in some of the things.
Okay. So he's asking, how do we connect with you? Maybe, I don't know, maybe approach him on LinkedIn, ask him
Yeah,
some.
just approach me on LinkedIn, find me on LinkedIn. uh,
Yeah, Raktim, just find him on LinkedIn. I think his name is here.
yeah, absolutely.
Maybe you can find him out. Then we have, can we get into MBA from core jobs?
Yeah, absolutely, why not? Yeah, I was a coder by the way, so you can, if you
Yeah,
want to do an MBA, of course. I mean, today coding is probably paying better than MBA as well.
right. So Bikash, your question on grades and all, I think Inside IM will be more helpful in answering those questions. It's too specific that
Yeah,
I in 10th he got this and that. So we will help you with that, just not right now. So if any of you have other questions, just let me know or I'll end this session now. And it
sure.
was really great. I think they don't have any more questions. So, well, thank you
Awesome,
so
thank you so much.
much. Thank you so much, Abhishek. It was an amazing. Okay. We got a couple of questions right now. One
Okay, sure.
second, just take this up. If I work in an NBFC, can I show it as my work X?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
You can.
of course.
You should be able to. As long as you have a legit certificate of work experience.
Yeah, that is important. Yes,
That is important.
very important. So he's a BTech fresher. Yeah, yeah, you can. Please consider this question. Which question? Okay, just Champ, if you have any questions, then let me know. The one question somebody is asking, as a CTO, what powers do you have, and what can you change in your organization?
So I'm not an actual CTO. I work as a CTO role
Yeah.
in Microsoft. But
Yeah.
as a CTO, CTOs are very powerful in an organization because technology is a key driver for business outcomes. Anything organization wants to do today, they want to expand to a new geography, they want to launch a new product. It's not possible without technology, and that's why CTO or CIOs play a very key role as a backbone for the firm these days to launch stuff for them. So any business strategy is incomplete without a technology element. So I think CTOs have a chair at the board table, whereas earlier they were sitting outside the room. So I think that's how things have changed.
Right. So someone is asking, he's a BTech fresher and he wants your opinion on, he wants to get into MBA and he has to build a profile because he's an engineer, he's in India, he's a guy, I think. Yeah, I think Prananjay.
Okay,
It's
awesome.
very difficult for him to get. Or what that's what he's saying, that he needs a profile. So what do you suggest? Do you have any opinions that he should do some things to get inside?
I think don't look at it as a profile. Look at what your interests are, what your career aspirations are, and and there are a lot of people who are male engineers, who have done you know well in life, who have actually got into good colleges, tier 1 colleges as well. Talk to them, understand what they have done, look at their LinkedIn profiles, what they have done. If you are interested in doing some of those things as well, do those. But unless you are interested genuinely, it is going to be difficult to justify why you did them when it comes to admission interviews, because we are very keen in understanding why you actually spend your energy and time on doing a certain stuff. If you are just looking at it as a profile tick mark, then it won't generally work.
That's right. That makes sense. So yes, I hope you got your answer, Paranjay. So we will end this session here. If you have any more questions, maybe you can directly contact him and he can help you even further on a one-on-one thing. And if you have any other question regarding CAT, you can contact us. So thank you so much,
Okay.
Abhishek, for this webinar and
Thank
giving
you.
your 1 hour to us. And I hope our guests also learned a lot from you. And I hope you also had some fun with us. So hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. Really, really, I've always been a fan of your channel. So yeah, good to be on this and contribute to your success.
That sounds great. Well, wish you get more success and you upskill yourself and you move up the ladder even further. Move up the ladder even further.